Oh, Lord have mercy.
Which, this is single-handedly both the greatest and the worst thumbnail I've ever created. So, um, Vince McMahon is one terrifying, terrifying man, the head and ruiner of WWE, the creator, and it's the greatest thing that happened to WWE and the worst thing that happened to WWE. But now we're getting a scripted TV series about Vince McMahon himself from Blumhouse TV, which under any circumstance, I would be excited for that. Except for this one specific circumstance, in which case Vince McMahon himself is an executive producer along with several other creative members from WWE. So I'm going, oh, so you're going to sugarcoat the crap out of this because the show supposedly is about his steroid trial, in which case he was on trial for providing his wrestlers with steroids and basically getting in a whole heap of trouble for that. Also, side tangent real quick, whatever happened to that Vince McMahon biopic that we heard about with Chris Hemsworth attached to it in some capacity as Hulk Hogan? Like, is that just still languishing away in development hell and we're never going to hear about that again? I like Blumhouse a lot. It just doesn't feel like a natural pairing here. Not because the story of Vince McMahon doesn't lend itself to be a show or a movie. It absolutely does. This is a morbid thought, but I look forward to when Vince is gone, the stories that will be presented that we can tell, because while he is alive, he will not let anything that might tarnish his legacy come out. That's why I'm not overly excited about this, just because I know they're going to edit and change so much about this, because WWE, more so than any other company I've ever seen, is so micromanaging of their own image, and especially Vince McMahon of his own image, just going, yeah, I need to be portrayed a certain way. Case in point, this picture here is of him on the cover of Muscle and Fitness from a few years ago. I'm just like, dude, it's okay that you don't look in peak condition, but you still have to have this weird thing about him that it's all about the show for him, and he always has to control the narrative. He's such a micromanager, which, again, it's weird that Blumhouse is doing this, because Blumhouse, by and large, is known for their creative freedoms. They let their people that run their stuff just run their stuff. They give them a low budget, and then they just roll with it. This feels like it should completely clash of a completely, not completely hands-off, but very creative-driven company with Blumhouse, and the micromanaging style of Vince McMahon. I'd be much more excited if he was not involved from a behind-the-scenes standpoint. But again, if he's attached to it, or WWE's attached to anything and whatsoever, they will micromanage the crap out of it while he is still alive.
Yep. It's why I think people like the dark side. What is it? Dark side of the map?
Dark side of the ring.
Mat? Or dark side of the ring. Like it so much because it does not sugarcoat things. It's very plain. It's very clear. You wanna tell the story of the way that a sociopath broke the law and hurt a bunch of people, but you're gonna let
got away with it.
Yeah, got away with it, but you're going to let the sociopath tell the story. Like, that doesn't make...
Yeah,
to me, it doesn't make sense.
Like, don't get me wrong.
Don't
get me wrong. I want a Vince McMahon movie someday, but it'll have to be after he passes. Like, for those that know, there's this great movie called The Founder, starring Michael Keaton as basically the founding of McDonald's. Do something like that, except with Vince McMahon, because Vince McMahon is one of the most... I'll give him credit where credit's due. He's one of the most brilliant, but at the same time, evil businessmen that's ever lived. So basically, Vince McMahon became the head of WWE because his father ran the WWE back in the day, Vince McMahon Sr. Basically, Vince Sr. on his deathbed said, hey, you can have the company so long as you don't expand it, because at the time there was these things called territories. So wrestling companies, basically, like New York would be a territory, Florida would be a territory, California would be a territory, and you don't impoach on other people's territories. That's just the unwritten rule. And so Vince Sr. told him, you can run the company, but you can't take from other people's territories. Vince basically destroyed the territory system forever and basically made WWE a monopoly up until a few years ago. That's a phenomenal movie to make. The rise of this conglomerate of basically the backstabbing, conniving that Vince has done over the years. He's made some brilliant moves. WrestleMania was the biggest gamble of his entire life, and it's become a huge thing. But he does not always do it ethically. And us saying that is going to get this video suspiciously removed from YouTube for some reason. So mark my words. He is one of the greatest villains of all time. But he wants to be perceived as this great championing hero. So I think that's where the big conflict comes in. And even if he's not directly involved, anything with his brand gets micromanaged to crap. Josh and I have spoken at length about our love for the movie Fighting with Our Family, which if you guys liked Black Widow or you like Florence Pugh and you see more of her, see Fighting with My Family. That was the first role I saw her in. She's phenomenal. But Josh and I both had massive issues with how WWE is portrayed in that movie of they get their own details wrong because this movie's supposed to take place in 2014, but yet there's a whole bunch of internal inconsistencies within WWE. I'm just going, WWE, you own all this stuff. Why can't you just use your own stuff? But they want to be portrayed a certain way and have a certain image. This just sounds, on paper, it should be interesting, but if Vince wasn't involved, I'd be much more interested. And again, if Kevin Dunn wasn't involved, who was also one of the producers who, for those that don't know, if there's anyone in WWE that I hate more than Vince McMahon, it's Kevin Dunn. He's the guy that is the director on every single episode, and if you want to know how not to direct an episode of television, look at Kevin Dunn.
Yeah. Just don't look him right in the teeth.